All right, off camera, I just added the last little pieces of glass into place. Let me go ahead and hide this column again. Now what I want to do is holding shift down with select each pane, of glass. Just clicking as you go. So I'm going through and I'm selecting each one. Again, holding shift down so I've got all of them. I'm basically able to add to my selection. Now that I've got them all selected, I'll move them back into place. I'm going to move them back 6 inches. Okay. I'm also, while they're selected, going to group them so that if I ever want to hide this all at once, it's going to be a lot easier to do so. Okay, so I've got my group of glass now. All right, we only have one more wall to fill that in. Before we do, I can see where I'm going to have a little bit of an issue when it comes to filling in the glass, and that's this section right here. So what I want to do is open this up, this solid piece, and push this back, this plane, back into place a little bit. And I'm going to have to do it in 2 places because I've got a line dissecting it down the middle. So let's go ahead and select that line and delete it. I need a little piece to catch down at the bottom. So with the tape tool, pulling back 8 inches, I'll now take my rectangle, start at that intersection, and just take it till this far point here. Double click on that, make that a group, double click and open that up 2.5. Okay, so all of my seams should be sealed, and it should be easier for me to put glass where I need it to go. Go ahead and edit, delete guides. Okay. This is going to be a lot trickier because this is now doing glass on a slant or making a rectangle or a face on a slant. So what I want to do is I really only have 2 different heights, well 3 when I get to this point, but I only have 2 different heights to deal with. I've got this height and then I've got this height. So if I make this section and this section, I should be able to then just scale the other ones appropriately in and out as needed. So let's start with this bottom piece. Notice that I've got this little tricky edge to deal with. So if I start from this bottom corner and try to draw straight up, it's going to draw it at a slightly different angle. In this case, that's okay. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to just start from this point to that point. I know that this is not completely perfectly accurate, but I think that it's going to be way too tricky if we try to do anything in a different way. So we'll go follow along this point to this intersection and then down to this point. Click. So there is my first piece of slanted glass. Once this is moved back into place, it's not gonna read as being off in any way. Let me make that into a group. Let's do the same thing here, from this point to this point with the line, moving around to that point, down to the bottom point there, and finishing it up. G, to make that a group. So we can easily select this one with our move tool and copy it up to this point times 2. So there's the glass filled in all the way up to one full grouping of mullions. Select all 4 of those planes and move them along the red axis until it hits the outside point of this mullion. Now, instead of opening these up, we're going to scale. So select scale, take that middle scale point and just drag it till you hit that point like that. Great. Now we can move copy to there. We can move copy to this inner point, to this intersection where there's no doors to worry about. We can move copy to this one. And then we've just got a few different kind of configurations we have to now worry about. The top is pretty clean. So the top, I can take these four and move copy from this point to this point. Click. And I can do it again above this door. Click. Times 2 will also get them filled in above that door. This one's a little different because here we've got some skinny ones. So what I'll do is I'll take these two, select them both, move copy from this point to this point, and then again, using scale, scale that in to hit that point like that. So that's going to fill in that little gap. We don't have to worry about the fact that they're slanted, which is great. Now I can move copy to that point because those are both the same size. Now we've got the two sides around the door dealt with, and we can copy those over by copying from this point, by selecting all four to that point, and then times 2, enter. Okay, great. So we've basically handled all of this whole side. The top is easy. We can just select this, move copy, click, times 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, times 5, enter. Great. Here we have to redraw this one because this one is a different size. Actually, here's what we're going to do. We're going to try something new. We're going to select this and we're going to copy it over using that reference point to that reference point. Then we're going to open this up by double clicking. Take our line tool, get nice and close. This is really important that you get close because the lines are not perfectly meeting up here. Again, if we were really taking our time on this model and we were making it super, super perfect, we would take the time to do this. But we really just don't have that kind of time in this class, especially for all the stuff we want to get to. Now I can select what I don't need, which is all the stuff at the bottom, and I can't really see that unless I hide this. So I'll open this up, select this, and delete it. And in fact, let's go ahead and select this while that's open. Make this unique. Open it up and push-pull it back because we don't want this to be penetrating that big shape. So we'll push-pull it back to this kind of horizontal slanted mullion, I should say. Okay, hide this, hide this column, select this plane and move it and copy it. 1, 2, 3, 4 times 4, and we're done. This part couldn't be simpler at this point. We just take a rectangle, select from corner or click from corner to corner, double click to group it from corner to corner, select, double click, G for group, and then copy this up times 3. Okay, at this point, we can now unhide what we don't need hidden anymore. We can select all of our glass by clicking on it. And we're going to do exactly the same thing. So we're selecting all of these different groups. It's a little tedious at first, but once we've got it grouped, it's not going to be a problem anymore. And I'm going to make that into a group, and then I'm going to make this one into its own group because this is kind of a separate little system. So I'll make that into a group as well. Okay, so I've got this group and I've got this group. I can select them both, move them back along the green axis 6 inches, and we are in business. Okay, all that's left to do to this material to give it a little bit of life is to bring in some materials. But before I do that, let's go ahead and unhide the roof. So I'm bringing my layers up because, as I recall, these beams are going way too high. So I'm unhiding that roof, I'm opening these beams up, and I'm push-pulling them down just a little bit. They can come through the roof a little tiny bit because we'll never see them. And now I'm coming down underneath. And as I recall in the photos, there is a, whoops, zooming in. As I recall, there is also a beam that runs across this point. So I'm just going to visually put that in by drawing a rectangle here, making it into a group, and push-pulling it. Notice I'm panning as I do this. I'm going to pan all the way across to this far beam here. This far column, I should say, and just push-pull it there. Okay, so now we're ready to get some materials put into place.